Oh, the gold rush is still on, huh? Well, heck. I'm just gonna go to the desert and get some gold. What's up, Robert? How you doing today? Nice day where you're at. It's a beautiful day here. I'm stuck inside though. The code is 4430 if you want to join. $44.30. You're in school, dude. Pay attention to your school. Your education is like the most important thing you can do for yourself. You don't have to pay attention to the teacher necessarily, but pay attention to the subject matter intently. That's like the most important thing you can do for yourself. If it weren't for my education, I'd be in a homeless shelter right now. Instead of living off the land with solar power. I taught myself to do all this stuff. I live a great life with basically zero money instead of in a homeless shelter somewhere in the city, which is where most people like me in my situation are. Honestly, I kind of hope I don't see any more comments from you. As much as I appreciate you stopping by, I'd like to see you concentrate on your education. If you're in school. Ooh, this thing jumps so far that it goes over those rocks. I can't land on them. Maybe I should just embrace it and stop trying. Maybe I should just not stream during school hours. That's an idea. Because it is a game. A lot of kids play. I mean, I could just go play on my Discord during school hours and not stream games during school hours. I mean, because really, I don't want to be responsible for somebody hanging out instead of and playing games instead of their education. I don't want to have any part of that. Just one guy. I hope that's not you, sitting in school watching. Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think I am going to do that. Because the only reason I'm streaming right now is because I'm just stuck inside. I woke up in terrible pain today with my back. It's bullshit. Again, I'm stuck inside playing video games. I figured I'd stream, but you know, like the friends that I have aren't on right now, like Froggy and them. You're watching a movie in school? What movie is it? Oh, yeah, I'm just doing jumps. I should go look for gold. You don't know? Oh, damn. What subject are you in? What class are you in? History? Alright. Is there a place that you're at in history? In a textbook or something? Is there a subject you've been on recently? Oof. Like the the revelation? Oh, the revolution. The American Revolution. Really? Well, that's a very interesting subject. The American Revolution. Okay, so the American Revolution was caused in big part by, you know, what people today would call the elites. People with a lot of money that owned everything, and basically owned politicians too, kind of like people do today, the rich do today. And the church had a big involvement in those days too. So the church used to be way more involved in governing countries. So it had a lot to do with the church, of course. The church and state was way more intertwined in those days. So, you know, church and state are almost interchangeable. Well, the workers were getting treated like crap. And so what they started doing is revolting and destroying corporate property. They did what's called the Tea Party, the Boston Tea Party. And so those were riots where they rioted and they went out and destroyed business property. The property of the moneyed, the people with all the money, you know. And we may have seen something similar to that recently. I'll let you decide for yourself. But so The people who started the American Revolution started it by basically rioting and destroying business, corporate property, the property of all the people who, controlled everything. Because that's basically the only way once, because they were rioting in response to, what was it, taxation without representation, remember? Because all the little people were being taxed, and the big people weren't paying their taxes. Kind of like we see today. And so they rioted and started the American Revolution. And yeah, so when all else fails, the government doesn't represent the people anymore, and they had no more recourse. They started conducting what they call economic pressure, because basically they were dying. I mean, when the poor are being used by the rich to the degree where they start dying, then their only recourse is to start hurting the rich where it will hurt them, in their pocket. And so the owners of all the businesses were the targets of that riot, because that was these people's only choice. They were dying. And we're kind of seeing something like that today. I wonder if he's still here after hearing all that. I wonder. Oh, yeah, he is. Look at that. Yeah, you're still here, huh? So, what do you think about what I just said? You love history? So, do you see the parallels between the American Revolution and what's happening in our country today? And not that I condone violence against any person ever, unless it's in self-defense. Then I do condone that, actually. If you have to defend yourself from violence, you have to use force. I absolutely condone that. But um, I got to be honest with you, and it's a hard thing for me to admit. I'm a red-blooded American, and I love my country. But the people who were protesting, and perhaps even the people who were rioting and destroying corporate property over this last summer, because they're doing it in response to, it looks to me like they're doing it in response to taxation without representation. Their government no longer represents them at all. And what other recourse do people have at that point? And it looks to me like, for the most part, they weren't trying to hurt any people. They were protesting, most of them. But those who were causing trouble, it looked to me like they were distinctly destroying corporate property. There was some looting happening, some stealing. That always happens too. If you don't think that nobody stole any of the tea during the Boston Tea Party or any of those riots, you're crazy. There's always an element of, and I'm sure there are some violent elements that use that as a cover to do some things too. But I gotta say, it's like it just comes down to this. I'm just driving around BSing with no aim to my driving. Do you have I heard of Horizon 4? Or, no, I may have heard of it. I don't have it. Well, as long as nobody's joining, I'm just going to go free roam. I'll just still BS with you. Yeah, so the whole taxation without representation thing was and that's basically where we've ended up now. I mean, all the little people pay their taxes. I paid my taxes till I couldn't work anymore. And, we all do. But the big guys don't. And they get to use us up for their profit. I mean, it's like just like it was before we had the American Revolution. It's being glitchy. It should clear up here in a minute. It usually makes it through these alright. When somebody's joining, usually it does this. Text. Yes. There we go. High-end people take money from people, I guess, and use it for fun. Yep. Yep. And instead of doing stuff like if it was up to us, what we would use our collective efforts for, we would do things like, growing better foods. And, I mean, we could terraform the Sahara Desert and turn it into a forest. And we would have so much more usable, livable space and land. And we would, we would absolutely switch to renewables right away. We already would have done that long ago if it weren't for the rich people. Like, you think nobody wants to be fighting wars over oil anymore. Nobody. We fought a 20-year oil war. And if you think it was for anything other than oil, you haven't been paying attention. All the excuses are just excuses. We just got out of a 20-year oil war. Everybody wants to switch to renewables. Not everybody, but most people. The vast majority of our country. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I don't see a lot of conservative Republicans that acknowledge that the majority of Americans want something, and that if they want a government that doesn't represent the rich money people, they have to find politicians that represent the will of the people. And that actually means that for a politician to represent the will of the people, well, guess what? The majority of the country wants things like Medicare for all. And if you don't, so this is where the problem is. If conservatives decide that they don't want a politician that supports Medicare for all, then they can never get one that supports the will of the voters. I mean, 50% of conservative voters want Medicare for all, and 80% of liberal voters want Medicare for all. The only way that you can get a politician who represents the voters and not the big rich people is if you get one. I mean, de facto, if you get one that supports the will of the people, they will, by definition, support Medicare for all. That's just the reality of where we are in the country. Either we get what the American people want, or we get fucked. And it's like, it's time for a lot of people to realize that either they get fucked or they get with the American people. It was the same kind of things happening during the American Revolution that are happening right now. The rich took the government away from the people, and now the people are rebelling. Or they have been. They did rebel hard during the Trump presidency. They still are kind of. I mean, the whole thing is, like, we know that both parties are corrupt. Like, I call myself a progressive because I only support candidates that only take money from voters. And so far, we've only been able to get people into the Democratic Party. If we could get people into the Republican Party, we'd be ecstatic. If we could find conservatives who wouldn't take any of the dirty money and would only represent the will of their constituents, we would love it. And we would support them. But we can't find any, and we can't get them in. So far, we've only been able to get them into the Democratic Party. And so, people often confuse us with the Democrats. No, we're fighting against both corrupt parties. It's just that so far we've only been able to get people into one of them. I would love to find some conservatives that were on top of all this stuff. And shit, I would love to see what conservatism even means without the rich people dictating it. Like, because I don't even know what a conservative platform would look like without the corporatism at this point. Like, because they're all against the Green New Deal, it seems like. I can't imagine a conservative position, what that's like, one that actually supports the Green New Deal. Because, I mean, that's what we need to do. We need to get off fossil fuels. And the majority of people in this country know that. And, like, I want to know what the heck. I want to meet some damn conservatives who actually hold these positions so I can find out what their whole position really is. Because, like, I don't get it. It's been so confused with the corporate position, as from my perspective, like I can't tell them apart. I mean, I know there are good-hearted conservatives out there. They're not corrupt people. And like, I want to know what kind of policies they are looking for because I can't understand. I don't see them looking for them. I don't see the conservatives out there fighting against the corruption in the conservative side at all. And like what the alternative that they're. Because like, you kind of see that in the Democratic Party. There's us progressives. We're fighting against the Democrats. And you can hopefully see a distinction between the policies that we want and the policies that they like. You know, Democrats want the same tax cuts the Republicans do. And they want, maybe some social things like legalizing gay marriage, but they don't want to upset their corporate masters ever. I mean, that's their job, is to appease the left-wingers and serve their corporate masters. But we know that, and we're on to them. And you can see our, the difference between us and them. But where is that in the conservative side? Like, I know there's conservative voters out there that don't want a corporate hell. And that want our government to represent us and not the uber-rich elite. But I don't see them, I don't see their policy platform being pushed. I don't see them pushing against the corruption on their side like we are on our side. And we can't even begin to try and get people into that other party that don't take the dirty money and only represent voters. It's like, I don't know where to start. You're going to geometry? Oh, well, that's enough history for today then. That was your lesson on the American Revolution and what it has to do with what's going on today. If you stop by during school hours, I'm going to educate the fuck out of you. Because you should be in school. Hey, Chef Smashtastic, are you in school? Apparently streaming during school hours. I'm just going to get people in school. Makes sense, but we can make this school too. You'll be back tomorrow if I'm streaming? I might be. I hope. Actually, I won't be. Because I hope to not be all messed up. But, yeah. See you later, I guess. Have fun in geometry. Geometry was one of my favorites, actually, in school. No, you're virtual today. Oh no, you got exposed? Shit. How old are you? Chef? How old are you? You're 11. Damn. So I seriously considered at one point trying to figure out a way to offer to go, because they're offering booster shots to adults now, right? And I offered trying to figure out a way to like go in if there were somebody young who wanted a vaccination and couldn't get it. I would go in with them like, they were just my nephew or whatever that I'm watching for the day, and I gotta get my booster shot. and then put it in your arm if you wanted it. But I think I'd get arrested pretty quick. I'd still do it though. But I think even like trying to put out the word that I would do that for somebody would get me just locked up. If I were to like post locally or something, or start, I mean, in a small town, even say something like that, and, you know, word gets around, and all these anti-vaxxers would be all over me, wanting me in jail for, oh, you could end up vaccinating your kid. Fuck yeah, if your kid wants it, I would do that. Fuck, kids are dying from, there's no kids gonna die from the vaccine. But there's kids dying from COVID. You're in 5th grade? Yeah, that's why I'm just hiding out here. Because right now, the way the world is, I think I'd just be getting in a bunch of trouble if I were around a bunch of people. Man, it's crazy. They've all lost their damn minds. I always end up just doing the same thing over and over. I kind of drive on autopilot and just hit all the same jumps that I've hit before. Well, I'm not really paying attention to my driving very much. I'm just sitting here BSing, really. Should we go up Devil's Staircase? The shot doesn't work, you still get safe. No, the shot does work. The reason there are so many breakthrough cases is because the Delta variant is not the variant that the vaccine was made from. The original variant is not the variant that's infecting people. It was allowed to mutate. If people had taken the vaccine as they should, it never would have been allowed to mutate. And there wouldn't be so many breakthrough. The only reason there's so many breakthrough cases is because it's a different strain than the one that you were vaccinated for. And the only reason it mutated is because there's so many damn people that didn't take their vaccine. Did you even know that? That the strain that you are being infected by in breakthrough cases is not the same strain that the vaccine was made from? How much research have you done about this? None. Hmm. maybe it's time for school. So every single breakthrough case is, not every single one, the vast majority, I'm sure there's probably I mean, the vaccine is 95% effective. We know that. All vaccines have a small error rate. They're only so much percent effective. There's no vaccine that's 100% effective that I know of. Anyway, but it's only 95% effective against the strain that it was made from. Okay, the fact that it was allowed to mutate into a different strain because there were so many people that didn't take the original vaccine means that where was I going with that? Okay, so that it's already more virulent. The strain is already more virulent, and that makes it break through the vaccine easier. However, the vaccine does provide some antibodies against the effects of the virus, even though it doesn't protect as well against transmission because the mutated strain is much more virulent. Now, every single one of those breakthrough cases, even though people are fighting it off well, the virus is still mutating billions of times inside their body during the time it's spreading inside them and they're fighting it off. It's still copying itself, and it's still making lots of mistakes, and there's still lots of mutations happening. And then all it takes is one of those mutations to survive better in the vaccinated body, and then it's back to square one, and it's all over for everybody, even the people who have been trying the best to protect themselves by taking the vaccine. And sometimes those effects of viral, if you don't understand the viral, how it works, I see where it might lead you to believe the vaccine's ineffective, but it is 95% effective against against the strain from which it was created. And if we were to take the Delta variant and try to create a vaccine from that, it would be probably of a similar effectiveness against the Delta variant. But we're not vaccinated for the Delta variant. We're vaccinated for the other variant. And the only reason the Delta variant exists is because people didn't take too many people didn't take a vaccine for the first one. And if we had vaccinated everyone for the first strain, the second strain wouldn't even be here. It wouldn't exist. Delta variant wouldn't be breaking through like it does. We know how all this stuff works. This is basic science from hundreds of years ago. I mean, I don't even remember how many hundreds of years ago we figured out the basics of this stuff. I mean, heck, we've known how the carbon cycle works for over 100 years. I mean, so yeah, when a virus enters your body, the first cells in your immune system that do their job are going to be what's called dendritic cells. These are cells that they kind of read the virus. So they will attach themselves to the virus, and they will read it and analyze the virus, and they figure out what kind of a defense is needed. Now that process takes time for your body to even sit there and read the virus to figure out what kind of a defense your other cells need to mount. While that dendritic cell is doing its job, there are billions of mutations happening, and it's like when you learn all this stuff, how it all really works, people should be more concerned, man, and I don't know, more, oh, hell. Just, they just refuse information. Like, I don't know how they have closed themselves off so thoroughly to information. It's like, I can't imagine. I don't know. I don't get it. Well, people take the shot and they just don't wear the mask afterwards. Yeah, I know a lot of people do that. Dude, I'm still quarantining myself. I got the shot. I only go to town like once. I only leave my property like once a month. And when I do, I go to the store and I wear a mask. And I come back and I'm still quarantined because I'm not willing to be that patient zero that takes everybody out. If I get sick, I'll tell you this right now, I can make you a promise. If if I get COVID knowing that I am vaccinated and it starts getting bad, like I think I'm gonna have to go to the hospital, I will burn this fucking trailer to the ground around me. Because that means a vaccinated person is gonna die. And that means there's a variant that's gonna survive the vaccinated. And it's gonna take everything out. If I get sick and it gets bad to where I think I'm gonna go to the hospital knowing that I am vaccinated, this trailer's getting burnt to the ground. With me inside. Because there's only one thing that can mean. Death for everybody vaccinated, possibly. I mean, it's already a more virulent strain. It's the Delta variant. It's already way more transmissible. If it survives in the vaccinated body, that much better. I mean, I guess the vaccine does still protect you a good deal from transmission. But man, it's just I'm not willing to take that risk. Nope. And it's not about me. Hey, Mom. Recharge it. Here, I'll do it. Oh, damn, it is stuck on there. Yep. And people don't think about that a lot. It's like, well, they probably don't know it. I mean, they don't realize what's really going on. They just don't know it. That there's, there's a reason that there's so many breakthrough cases. It's only because there's a different variant doing it, which shouldn't have been allowed to happen. And it was allowed to happen. And, the virus doesn't know what national borders are. The only way you can stop a global pandemic is to vaccinate everyone globally. And, like, we had the power and the ability to do that. There were countries begging us for the vaccine, but we wanted to charge for it. We wanted to charge money for it instead of giving it away. And it's not like we couldn't afford it either. I mean, we didn't even want to give the recipe away to them. To let them make it for themselves. Like, we call it intellectual property rights. I mean, come on. That's pathetic. Jesus. I mean, this the people who have money, and it's like they think they're intelligent too. It's like, yeah, why? Because you can take advantage of people toward and manipulate, and you have power toward a goal that, like, dude, I wouldn't choose that goal. That's a fucking pathetic goal. There's a reason I'm not rich. I did. I have no interest in being. I want to terraform the Sahara Desert. I want to do amazing accomplishments that we could do. Uh, but just to have money, well, like while people are starving, and try and accumulate as much money as I can while people starve. Like, are you fucking crazy? Why That's not a worthy goal for me. That's pathetic. I mean, I want to. I'm just. I'm better than that, I guess. Come on. That's fucking pathetic. I've got a small orchard here I've planted that hopefully will last a few hundred years, maybe. Might feed, you know, several generations. And this land was not like this before we came here. We brought back tons of wildlife. We planted all kinds of food-bearing stuff. And it's like, it's a living place again. And it will probably continue to live and be healthy and sustain life and sustain people for a long time, because we turned it from some place that had been logged off to a fucking park. It's been replanted with lots of good stuff. We got an orchard, huge garden, and lots of other, like, crab apple trees that bring in deer and birds and, I mean, all kinds of stuff. You got to get on live meat. Live meat. Oh, I don't know what you mean. Oh, it's still somebody here, but yeah. You taking off? All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a break. We'll see you, man.